Hi everybody, welcome to week 7. This week we're going to be talking about case studies. So today we are going to go through 4 case studies, and I'm using the term case studies lightly. Some of it is more tips and tricks and others are a little bit more formal case studies. But today we're going to cover not-for-profit, trending topics, post-engagement strategies, and how you can use Facebook for HR purposes. And I know that not everybody is going to be interested in each topic, but it is, I think, helpful to know a little bit about each of these different topics, because you never know when you're going to be maybe volunteering for a nonprofit, or perhaps you are working in a small shop and you end up having to recruit people, so you might end up using HR or Facebook for HR. So these are all useful tips and tricks that you might be able to use in the future. First up, we're going to talk about not-for-profits. And when we talk about leveraging Facebook for not-for-profits, the same rules apply as everything that we've already been talking about. You still need a plan and you need to have goals, but those goals might be slightly different than what you would expect for a business. So instead of, direct sales or, brand engagement, things like that, you might be seeing terms like education, advocacy, fundraising, community building. Of course, you still want to create brand awareness for your not-profit. That's still incredibly important, especially when it comes time to asking people for money. But overall, your goals will probably be slightly different based on your organization's mandate, based on what your board tells you you're supposed to do, and based on some of the project-based priorities that your organization has. So you want to follow the same planning and strategic rules that a business would on Facebook. So you really do want to make your first impression count. Same thing goes for everything, for business, for personal profiles. You want to have your proper profile picture. So if you're a not-for-profit, I highly recommend using your organization's logo. And then you want a cover photo that is something compelling to do with your cause. So if you are an environmental organization, you definitely want your cover photo to reflect some of the work that you're doing. I think that there are some organizations out there that take a more traditional approach and they use text-based cover photos, or it isn't really that visually compelling. It's more message-based. And although messaging is incredibly important for nonprofits, I think it's equally as important to be able to tell a story through visuals. You can make use of the donate button. So when we're talking about those call to action buttons, we discussed that earlier on when we were talking about Facebook for Business, but there's the same types of actions apply. So you can use the donate button, you can use the sign up button, you can use learn more. But if you are a charity that's looking to raise money, which pretty much every charity is, you can make use of the donate button. And I will say, if you are using that donate button, you better make sure that your online donation process is seamless. If you are driving people to somewhere to donate online, it needs to be very, very easy, one click and done type of donation page, as simple as possible, asking for the least information you possibly can, because the more fields people have to fill out, the less likely they are to complete it. So I will just say, if you are using that donation button, I really recommend using a really awesomely converting donate page on your website. You definitely want to fill out your about section. You want to include a website link, and then your vanity URL should be consistent with other social profiles. And first and foremost, you want to put your audience first. And I think a lot of times with charities, I deal with this all the time with clients, is the not-for-profit clients want their messaging and their cause to be first, but you're still communicating with people. So you need to think about your audience, think about why they are compelled to like your nonprofit's page. Why are they compelled to support your cause? You always have to be thinking about your audience and the people that you're talking to while you're developing these messages. Of course, everything still has to be based around your organization's mission and your mandate and the cause that you are working for, but you need to remember your audience. And that's something that the nonprofits, especially the smaller ones, seem to forget, because it's so easy to get caught up in this cause that you're super, super passionate about. And you have to remember that before anybody can get passionate like you are about the cause. They need to learn more about it. They need to be compelled, and they need to have stories told to them. So let's take a look at an example, Charity Water. So, I mean, whether you're a fan of Charity Water or not, they have done a really great job leveraging social media and digital for their charities purposes. So this is an example. This is their Facebook page. And I've made it so that if you click on this in your PDF or in your slides, you'll be able to link out to their Facebook page to take a look. So they have their logo, their vanity URL. So if you were to go facebook.com/charitywater, this is where you would end up. So it's the same as their Twitter account. It's probably the same as their Instagram account. So you want to keep this consistent with all of your other digital properties. You're able to send them a message so you know that they are open to communications. They've made use of the donate button. So when you click on that donate button, you go to a donation page. You can see here that because they do respond to messages, they have this little bar, very responsive to messages. And you have to have a certain percentage, a response rate. It has to be, I believe, over 65% response rate before Facebook will identify that you are responsive to messages. So keep that in mind. They have their about section filled out, and they have a compelling photo here. So you kind of want to know more, like, who are these people? What are they all about? And it makes you want to click on it. When it comes to nonprofits, go visual or go home is what I say. If you are working for a cause, and you're working for, social justice, environmental issues, any health issue related causes, you have to have visuals. I mean, the reason why you yourself got involved in a not-for-profit is probably because you're passionate about the issues. I have yet to meet a nonprofit staff member who got involved because they just needed a job. And I've definitely worked in the nonprofit sector, not just with clients, but I've actually been employed by a nonprofit. And you definitely have to be passionate if you're going to last in the sector. So you yourself were compelled for some reason to get involved in a cause. Think about what that was. What was the story? What were the facts? What were the visuals? WWF does a really great job of putting together visuals, and I just pulled this as a GIF, so I'm sorry that it's repeating, but the full video is here at this link. And the great thing about this video is that they not only talk about, in the beginning of the video, they talk about what environmental issues there are out there, but then the second half of the video is this: so what can you do? Get involved. And then it lists all the different ways for people to get involved. So this is a really visually compelling way that you can highlight the issues and the problems with the world, but also let people know that there is hope. And I think that it's really important for nonprofits to provide that sense of there's hope. We're working towards that hope. That's the whole point of your charity, is you're working towards the hope that you're going to make this thing better. Whether you are WWF working for wildlife rights and protecting our environment, or maybe you are working for social justice, you always have this problem that you're trying to solve. And so the charity is the sense of hope, and you need to keep that in mind with your messaging. Educate your audience. So Lake Ontario Waterkeeper does a really great job of balancing their posts. So a lot of their posts are educational, and they do get a lot of engagement on their posts, especially ones that are a little bit shocking like this one. So for years, Lake Ontario Waterkeeper has been doing sampling across the Toronto waterfront and also in other areas, but they've been focusing a lot of their efforts in Toronto because they are based in Toronto. And so after big rainstorms, they go out and they sample the water and they test the different levels of E. coli and bacteria in the water. And my goodness, I used to work for Lake Ontario Waterkeeper. I've done some of the sampling, and I gotta tell you, some of the results are pretty gross. If you want to learn more, I highly recommend you click on that page, especially if you're somebody who uses Toronto's waterfront, whether it's for, maybe you just go for a walk along the waterfront trail, maybe you're a swimmer, kayaker, maybe you take the ferry across to the islands for the weekend in the summer. So Lake Ontario Waterkeeper really educates people about how the sewage infrastructure in the city can impact your recreational use. So this education point is really important because it gives people talking points for your charity. So if you read the articles that Waterkeeper writes, I mean, you have to have well-written articles as well. But if you have the well-written content, you should be sharing it on Facebook, because then you're giving all of your fans this extra information, this ammunition in a way to go out and talk to other people about this cause and to rally on your behalf. So giving people really great education with evidence and visuals and information that they can use can be really, really important. And it's also fairly shareable. So, I mean, they've got 35 shares on this one already. They've got tons of different likes. They've got people commenting as well. So it's just something to keep in mind, that if you have great educational content, you should definitely be sharing it, but also including those visuals that make people want to click. You should showcase your advocacy and leverage your key supporters. So depending on what your charity's mandate is, some people go out and do protests with their charities. I know that in Canada, there are definitely rules around how much political activity you can participate in. But if your board has okayed it and it's something that you do, if you and your staff go to protests or you participate in any type of rallies, showcasing that you are part of a movement can be incredibly compelling. Of course, if it's something as polarizing, I can't even believe that science is polarizing, but if it's something as polarizing as the Science March, you might end up with some negative comments, so keep those things in mind. However, it is important to show people that you are getting involved in the issues that you're advocating for. So the Planetary Society, obviously a science-based not-for-profit, and they very much want science to be protected, not just in the United States, but across the world. So they very clearly were well within their mandate to be participating in the Science March that happened over the 2017 Earth Day weekend. And they also do a really good job of leveraging their celebrity supporters. And so Bill Nye is more than just a supporter. He is, I believe, the CEO of the Planetary Society, or the president, whatever their top person is. So he is very actively involved in an advocacy role for them. He's very much a spokesperson for the Planetary Society. The Planetary Society also does a lot with Neil deGrasse Tyson and a lot of other really well-known scientists. So the Planetary Society definitely leverages these types of people. And, you might not have Bill Nye on your side as a nonprofit, but you probably have some fairly well-known people, whether they're just well-known in your small niche community or they're well-known on a larger scale. Taking the opportunity to use those people that have kind of like an amplification effect can be incredibly helpful. And you should know that a lot of people who do have a bit of a name, I don't particularly enjoy the word celebrity or classifying people as celebrities because they are people. But if you have people that have a larger following, influencer, if you want to use that word, ask them. The worst they can say is no. And if you ask them very politely and in a way that is reasonable, you can not only do some good for your charity, but this can also give you some social points. So the Planetary Society went live with Bill Nye on their video. So they're leveraging the Facebook Live's algorithms. They are leveraging an event that had immediacy at the time, and they're leveraging their superstar, Bill Nye. So this type of post is kind of one of those, the stars have aligned. See what I did there? And the perfect timing and the perfect circumstances came up where they were able to use this moment. And you can see that, again, we don't want to necessarily just focus on vanity metrics, but even if only half of these people viewed his very quick video the whole way through, that's a decent number of views. That's a decent number of people that are getting that nonprofit's messaging. And again, put your audience first. So keep in mind who your audience is, what they want from you. Just because you're a charity doesn't mean you can't make marketing profiles. I've made marketing profiles for basically every nonprofit client that I've worked for, and as I worked in the nonprofit sector, we did marketing profiles all the time. We called them marketing profiles because it was just the easiest thing to do. You could call them donor profiles, you could call them constituents profiles. It doesn't matter what you call them, but the same information is going to go in there. And you want to be thinking, why are these people aligned with my cause? What things in their life have caused them to be part of this cause? The NaNoWriMo is, they do a National Writers Month. So they're all about writers. They support writers. And so the messaging that they often put out is how to help writers, how to help people be creative. And it might not be as, non-profity seeming as something like Because I Am a Girl or World Wildlife Federation. This type of nonprofit is still, just as compelling, just needs just as badly to tell stories and to keep their audience first and foremost. So they do a lot of writing prompts. They post articles about writing tips and how to keep yourself motivated. They also show people how to get themselves published, whether you're self-publishing or going through a more traditional publishing route. So they do provide a lot of support for the art community. And then, of course, donations. Every nonprofit that I've worked with, in the first meeting that we have is, okay, how can you get me to raise money on Facebook? Or how can we use Facebook to raise $1 million? And my initial answer is, well, I don't know. How are you raising $1 million regularly? Facebook is not a magic tool that's going to immediately raise you $1 million. But you can use social networks, including Facebook, to do some fundraising. So keep in mind that you need to time your donation request. You don't need to be posting every day for people to donate to you. That's annoying. You don't call people up every day and ask them to donate to you. Why would you do the same thing on Facebook? Same thing. You don't email people every day to send you a donation. And if you do, I would be shocked if your email news list is still functioning. But you want to keep in mind that your donations need to have a purpose. So, you need to also link to your Facebook content. So if you're sharing a lot of content about, say you're Lake Ontario Waterkeeper, and although you work on a wide range of issues, if everything on your Facebook account for the past month has been about Toronto sewage, so let's say it's summertime, it's swimming season, and there's lots of rain happening, Lake Ontario Waterkeeper is going to be posting a lot about beach water quality across Lake Ontario. So if they decide that they want to ask for a donation when they've got all of this community support, when they've got people engaging with all of their content, we just want to take a moment to say thank you so much for everybody who's been commenting and sharing our messaging and helping to educate others about water quality on Lake Ontario. We ask that you make a small donation to help us continue to do the work that we're doing. A simple donation as small as $10 can do X. Or, if we can reach $5,000 by the end of this month, we will be able to do this. And so when you're linking things to the Facebook content that you've already been sharing, you're leveraging the people that are already engaged with your content. Stay away from generic asks. You want to tie something to a campaign, or you want to tie it to campaigns that you're running outside of Facebook. So if you're doing an email ask, if you've got in-person asks, like you're calling people up or you're doing direct mail, maybe you've got a gala. If you already have these campaigns running, being able to mirror that campaign on Facebook provides a lot of brand consistency. And as long as your audiences match up, then it can be a really great way to leverage what you're doing. That said, if your fancy gala targets people, who can pay $1,000 for a ticket, you're probably not going to raise the same kind of money on Facebook, but you could run a parallel fundraising campaign. And like I said before, make your online donations super easy. I can't tell you how many times I've worked with nonprofits who, if you can't actually make an online donation, you have to call them up and give them a credit card number, or, you have to jump through 6 different web pages before you can actually click the yes, finalize my donation. You want it to be one page. You want it to be very, very easy and seamless. And if you can keep people on your website and keep it branded as your nonprofit as opposed to sending people elsewhere, that can be even more effective, because as soon as people are redirected to a different website domain, then, you know, questions can be like, oh, is this a safe donation site? Is this website hacked? People get very uneasy. So this was just an example of a donation ask that Radiolab podcast has recently posted. So that says, do we have what it takes to meet our stretch challenge for the Toe Foundation? Right now, any donation to us will be matched dollar for dollar. Help us to continue to make great radio. I think that this is a fairly compelling ask. There's always room for improvement, but some of the things that they've done right is that they have, they kind of have this sense of urgency. So right now, any donation will be matched dollar for dollar. That is fantastic. So this is kind of doubling your donation. So if I donate $10, they're going to get $20 in total because somebody's matching my donation. And why donate to Radiolab? Help us to continue to make great radio. So if you're already a fan of Radiolab, the podcast, you already know that they make great radio. Obviously, you're a fan. So this is a fairly compelling way to ask people for money. If you can double their efforts by having a matching donation, and if you can leverage the fans that you already have, then you're in a good space for people to donate. Another compelling visual, just while we're on here, this links to their donation page, which is great. If they were to have a video as well of, you know, maybe Radiolab has a very influential fan, or, you know, one of the hosts of Radiolab were to do a video and say, this is why we need your money, and to say thank you to all of the fans, that would be even more amazing. So there are definitely ways that you can leverage Facebook for your nonprofit. All right, let's talk about trending topics. So trending topics, for those of you who haven't noticed it in your Facebook timeline, or maybe you're just exclusively using Facebook on your cell phone and so you haven't seen what it looks like on desktop, trending topics is Facebook's feature to highlight what they consider news on Facebook. So this is what people are talking about, and they've recently re-added these descriptions back. So they were gone for a while, but now the little descriptions are back. And when you click on it, on each of these highlighted headers, you get a link to everything that people are talking about. So these are trending topics are selected by Facebook's algorithm, and that algorithm is based on the engagement with the original articles, how much engagement the publisher has. So whoever has posted an article, if they have a lot of engagement with their profile, they're going to show up higher in the feed. And then how many other people are linking to that original article. Okay. So let's just take a really quick look at what it looks like on Facebook. Okay, so I'm just going to click on Saskatoon. Fatal collision. Maybe we don't want to talk about that. French president, lots of politics. So here's how it looks. You can see these are the top posts. So these are people who are getting the most traction right now on Facebook. You can also just click over to posts. So these are public posts, the top public posts that are being seen. So you can scroll through, and I don't have anybody from France on my Facebook page, so I'm probably not going to have many people talking about it. But if I had friends that were talking about it and they had public posts, it would show up in this feed as well. You can also sort by people. You can look for photos, videos, etc. And you can also see that trends have been sorted. So these are the top trends. You can go to politics. So Bill O'Reilly, No Spin News podcast returns Monday. So he's coming back with a podcast. I mean, obviously somebody with his type of celebrity power is not going to be unemployed for long. But so here you can see all of these different public posts. So some of these are from Facebook pages, but some of them are just from people who have their statuses set to public. So you can see all sorts of information. You can get a sense of who's talking about what. And so this is a way for people to to see what's trending on Facebook. So that's great, Allie. How am I going to use it for my business? Well, let me just tell you. So, first of all, you want to ask yourself some questions if you want to leverage these trending topics for your business. First and foremost, is it relevant to your business? Do you have any reason whatsoever to be talking about Bill O'Reilly if you are selling shoes? You know, you don't want to look like a newsjacker by just posting something because it's trending. So it needs to be relevant to your business. Then you want to think about, do you already have relevant content, or do you need to create it? So, if something is trending about the France presidential election and you already have a bit of a primer on the France presidential election or on France politics, then, that might be great to post. Or do you need to scramble and write something new? So this is what we see from a lot of these big media industries big media companies like the Huffington Post, like the New York Times, like the Guardian. They will see, okay, what's trending? Great, let's write something about it. Or, they can probably predict some of the different things that are going to be trending based on current events. And then as soon as, something pops up into Facebook's trending, they make sure that they're posting about it, and maybe they're boosting that post to get with a little bit of ad money to get it for more people to see it. So, if you need to create something very quickly, you need to think about your budget. Time budget and money budget. Do you have a writer to create something? Do you have a video team to create a video? And then you do need to have a quick turnaround, because depending on which trending topic it is, depending on other things that happen in the world, trending topics can disappear in minutes, or they can last for days. So there are all these things that you need to consider. So you really want to think about what content can you produce. Is live video commentary relevant? Do you have an existing video that you can repost? Do you have a blog that you can link to, photos or photo album? Or do you just want to do a simple post status update commentary? These are all legitimate ways to leverage trending topics, but again, only if it's relevant to your business and to your messaging and to your audience. And I'll leave you with this. Don't be gross. I don't know how else to put it. Just don't be gross. Keep your posts relevant. And if you don't have relevant content, don't hijack trending topics. It's not going to help you in the long run. People are going to see it, and they're either going to unfollow you, or they're going to hide your updates, and or Facebook's algorithms are going to ding you because you're Facebook newsjacking. So don't post something with the tags Bill O'Reilly just so that it shows up in trending topics. You want to make sure that it's relevant, because again, as good marketers, we want to be providing relevant and valuable content to people so that we create loyal customers. Clickbait doesn't do us any good, right? Clickbait doesn't do us any good because you have to keep working every single time just as hard for that click. With everything you post, you're always just like working and struggling. If you create a sense of trust with your audience, then you're not going to be struggling every time to get those clicks. People are going to trust what you're posting, and they are going to click your links, or they're going to share your posts, or they're going to comment. Post engagement strategies. So when it comes to Facebook post engagements, especially if you're just starting out with a Facebook page, it can be tough and it can seem a bit daunting, especially if you want some huge brand that just has its own pull that people are already searching for. So if you are fairly new, or if you're just, maybe you've taken over a Facebook page and it's, got 100 and something likes on the Facebook page, and you really want to grow it because you've got great content, first and foremost, you need to know what your goals are. When you know your purpose, you set expectations for your audience, you set the tone, and it provides you with a guiding light so you're not struggling with content on a daily basis. You also need to know your audience. So I know that we've already talked about this, but these things are so key to generating engagement and really helping you fulfill your goals. You need to provide relevant, valuable information, and you need to set those expectations from day one. You can't just post something on a Monday and just kind of like ignore it for the next 3 weeks. You have to make sure that you know what your audience wants, and you need to be able to deliver to deliver that to them consistently. Posting great content. So you need to provide that relevant and valuable content often. It builds momentum. So if you end up posting, say your first post that you do once you start your strategy after this course, when you're going to be awesome Facebook marketers, say the first thing that you decide to do is a live video. Maybe you get some really great traction on that. You get 1,000 views and it's shared a bunch and people are watching and it's great. So don't just leave your page after that. You want to make sure that you are continuing to post, and it doesn't have to be live videos every time, but if you've had some momentum, then that's good for you in Facebook's algorithm brain system. So if you've got great traction on something, you need to keep posting regularly to maintain that momentum. And before you post things, think, would I comment on this? And then go to your marketing profiles and say, would Mary Marketer comment on this? Would, Charlie Ice Cream Lover comment on this? Would he share this? Look at your marketing profiles and figure out, what are these people looking for? Is this what they're looking for? And then ask yourself, is this really what they're looking for? Because a lot of times as marketers, we can really get in our head about the things that we think might be important and the things that we think are important for our brand or for our client, but that might not be what's important for our audience members. So definitely post things that are relevant. And then test your posting times. So again, this is something that we've already talked about, but go to your page insights, and in your post sections where you can see when people are online by day, go through and see, all right, this week I am going to post only on the high traffic times, and I'm going to see where we get. Next week, I'm only going to post on the low traffic times, and I'm going to see where we get. And the third week, I'm going to post at a high traffic time and a low traffic time, similar but not the same content, and I'm going to see what works. And then after you do that testing, figure out, okay, what worked best for me? What didn't work at all? And make a note of that so that when you are moving forward, this is what works great for me, and this, these times suck. Maybe noon on a Wednesday is like the best time ever for you to post. Then absolutely post at noon on a Wednesday. But you also want to make sure that, if your engagement starts to falter a little bit, you go back to your analytics and you're looking, okay, maybe Wednesdays at noon isn't the time for us anymore. You can also ask people for engagement. So if you are posting an article or posting a photo, you can ask people to engage. So ask people questions. If you're posting about, running, or the best way to train for a marathon, maybe you're a shoe company and you've got really great running shoes, or you're the running house and your whole business is catering to runners, and marathon season we're gearing up for it. There's already a run that happened already at the beginning of this year. So you want to hit those people who are getting out there to train outdoors, and either you've written this great article or you found a really great article about training, and you can ask your followers, here are some great tips about starting your spring training running. Are any of these your favorites, or what's your special spring ritual when you get back out on the roads? You can ask for these types of engagements, or you can even say, people, tell us what your craziest ritual is, or tell us what your top tip is for starting off the running season. And then once people start to engage, you want to engage back with them. So if people don't get any feedback from you, then it kind of leaves them feeling alone. And although some of your other audience members might engage and there might be a bit of a community that creates itself, you do want to help people feel like they have a connection to your brand. That's the whole point of this. Or to your charity. It doesn't just have to be for a business. It can be for a nonprofit, or it can be for, if you're doing a personal brand and you're a public personality, then you can, or a public figure, I should say, engage back with people. The whole point of social media is being social. So you don't want to post something and then forget about it. You want to go back and make sure that you can comment and engage with people. And then, of course, you want to leverage video if you can. So we know right now that Facebook video, especially Facebook Live video, when it's good, relevant content, is getting higher algorithm treatment or better algorithm treatment than any other types of content right now. So leverage that. If you really want to get some good engagement happening, if you want to jumpstart something, try some video, and that can be the item that sets your engagement in motion, especially if you've got a smaller page or you're starting off kind of small. Maybe it's brand new, or you've just kind of been stagnant, you haven't been able to grow anything, you've hit 1,000 but you can't keep going. Try something new like engagement to get the ball rolling again. And these are all ways here that you can do things without paying any money, except for the content creation, but no advertising money. So here are some examples. Shocker, Allie's talking about Buffer again in a lecture, but you know that they are going to be posting content that is engaging and that is trusted and that is regular and is totally on brand. So they have a really great rundown about the Facebook F8 conference, event, whatever you want to call it. So when Facebook announces their new products and their new features, they have this big event, and now everybody's reporting on it. So I'm a marketer. Everything I need to know as a marketer, that's great. I didn't sit and watch the whole thing because I have a child and she thinks Mark Zuckerberg is boring because she's one. So, it's great to see these rundowns from people like Buffer, because I trust Buffer, obviously. They write great content. And they also know that as a marketer, this is something that I want to read and what I want to know about. So you can see, you've got people sharing, you've got people reacting to it. They do have comments on the article. I'm not sure what their click-through rate is, but I'm sure it's fantastic because it's Buffer, and they almost always have very click-worthy content, because every time I go there, I'm never like, oh, this isn't what I was expecting X. I always stay on the site. Mary Smith is also another one who posts fairly engaging content. So Mary Smith, she has dubbed herself the world's top Facebook expert. So she had quite a bit of success with Facebook from a business perspective right in the beginning. And if you want to follow her on Facebook, I highly recommend it. Mary Smith. You can just Facebook search Mari Smith. And she does a lot of great stuff. She uses a lot of the Facebook tools. She posts a lot of webinars and articles and links to great information. And she also does giveaways. So she was live, and so she's talking about this new technology. And I mean, this is basically an advertisement, but if you are somebody who is on Facebook as a marketer and you're looking to get some technology to help you go live on Facebook, then, this Ecamm product might be very helpful to you. And you can see she has a ton of comments. She's got a lot of reactions. A bunch of people have shared. She's got a couple thousand views on the video. So you can take notes from people who do a really good job at creating compelling content. And you can see, what are they doing that's creating engaging content? Live video, a giveaway, and relevant information. Creaky Press is another one that does a really good job. They're just a small kind of crafty DIY company out of Toronto, Canada, and they post a lot of great content, and they always get decent engagement. They do get engagement because of the community that they're creating. People who do arts and crafts love other people that do arts and crafts, because you can be inspired by each other. You can appreciate the work that goes into creating some of these things. For those of you who don't do embroidery like this, cross stitching, my goodness, the amount of effort that goes into creating something like this, that's enough for me to hit like. Not only that, it's adorable, and it's a product that I really like. So these guys are doing a really great job because they're sharing their craft in a way that is very visual, and is a way to let people know this is where we're going to be. They also do a lot of giveaways. So they create things that people who love artsy, craftsy, needlepoint are engaged with. Similarly with Radiolab, I know I already talked about them in this lecture, but obviously I'm a fan of Radiolab, and I think that they do some really great stuff with their content. So they always make sure that they are leveraging, current events with the posts that they're posting. So HBO had a movie about Henrietta Lacks on not too long ago, and so Radiolab had already done a really great piece about her, so they reposted to be in time with HBO's movie. And you can see that fans of Radiolab, a lot of people, this was the first Radiolab podcast that they ever listened to, so that's pretty cool that they can tie people back to that. And it's also a really compelling way to leverage your existing content with something that was happening in pop culture. And then, of course, NASA, they post a lot of very compelling imagery, and they get people thinking and talking. And so, this specifically was, I thought, a pretty cool post. It's the driest place on Earth, and only the hardiest microbes survive there. That's why Chile's Atacama Desert can teach us how to find life in even the most unlikely places. So this is really cool for somebody who grew up watching Star Trek, because it kind of makes you think about, how could life on other planets start? Could it exist? If it can exist in these extreme conditions on Earth, maybe it can exist in extreme conditions on other planets. For somebody like me who likes to think about space and who likes to think about science and can kind of let your mind wander, posts like this from NASA can really spark your curiosity and make you want to learn more. Of course, the comment section of NASA can be not that fun and a little less about curiosity and a little bit more about politics, but their content is always, I find, to be quite engaging and incredibly visually compelling. So another thing you can do for engagement is consider financial boost. So you can use the boost post feature on posts that have already been published to your page. You can give a really small budget, $5, $10, and you can boost that to get a little bit more engagement. My recommendation when using the boost post feature is to boost posts that already have some traction. So post something, wait a couple of hours, and see if it's getting any traction. Because money can't fix bad content. Money can't fix something that just isn't compelling to your audience members. And I know that there are a lot of people out there who will, post something and then immediately boost it. And I just think that that's a waste of your money, because you haven't let the organic reach happen on its own. And it can take a little bit of time. It doesn't happen immediately. So, if you're using the boost post feature, definitely wait and see if people start to engage with it a little bit on their own, and then you can use that boost post feature to try and get it into people's eyeballs on their newsfeed. Okay, Facebook and HR. Here's what I will tell you. I am not an HR professional, so these are tips to use Facebook for HR from a marketer's perspective. So for any of you who are working formally in HR or are considering going into HR, I just want to make that very clear that I don't have any formal training in human resources. I have used Facebook for recruitment purposes, but there are definitely some ways that you can use it. There is a great blog with some examples of companies that use Facebook for recruiting. I stole one of the examples from this blog post, so if you want to learn more and see some really good examples, you can check out that blog. First thing that you want to do, just having been working at this from the marketer's perspective and having dealt with HR teams, my recommendation is that you need the HR team and the marketing teams to be buddies. So a lot of times when you look at the internal structure of companies, you'll see that human resources deals with internal stuff and marketing deals with external stuff, and ne'er the two cross paths unless there are some behind the scenes issues with the marketing teams. I think that the marketing department and the HR department should really be working closer together in a lot more companies. And especially if the marketing team can know the goals of the HR team and vice versa, they can actually work hand in hand with each other to make a better company, better products and services for consumers. So if each team knows each other's goals, then already you are going to be able to find any types of overlap. Understanding audience overlaps. So HR, you are recruiting people, but you still have an audience. You're still, in a sense, marketing these jobs to prospective employees. So you want to understand your audience. Maybe there are some marketing personas that overlap with job descriptions, and that's totally cool. So maybe some of the messaging that you have for your job postings makes sense to be posted on Facebook. And really just, I think it's really important to underscore that social media is social. So there are a lot of times where HR will say, oh, here's our job description, just post a link. That's not social. You want people to feel engaged with the company and engaged with the company culture. And that is a way that you can leverage social media to recruit your potential employees. Of course, there are ways to use Facebook in terms of scoping out your job prospects. So if people are applying, you can search on Facebook for their profiles. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Happy consumers can make excellent employees. So, just because the marketing department is thinking about the people who are on Facebook as potential customers or potential donors, doesn't mean that they can't also be potential employees. I know that Buffer recruits a lot of their employees from their fan base. There are tons of companies that do that. And if you already really like a company, it's going to be easier for you to act as a loyal employee. What's a good example? Maybe phone companies aren't the great example, but I love Koodo. I love being a Koodo customer. I'm always treated really well by Koodo. And every time I interact with somebody from Koodo, they seem to be incredibly happy with their job. So, if I had to get a retail job working for a phone company, my first choice would be with Koodo because I'm a happy customer. So the opposite is true with some of the larger companies like Bell. And I was also a Bell employee doing repairs and things like that when I was just before I went to university. So, and I couldn't wait to not be a Bell customer because I had such a horrible time as an employee. So things can go back and forth. From Facebook's perspective, if your HR department is able to highlight key positions that need filling that can make sense to be posted onto a Facebook page, then I don't think that there's any reason to not post those job postings on Facebook. So UPS is a company that does a really good job of highlighting some of the successes that they have with their employees. So they'll highlight things that are happening within their employee culture. They'll talk about the different volunteering that UPS does. So if you're the type of person that wants to have a job where you can give back to the community and where your company says, yeah, totally take this day off of work to go volunteer, then you know that UPS is the company that can do that for you. And they also celebrate their employees, the achievements of those employees. Maybe it's because they have done something extraordinary. Maybe it's because they've been with them for a really long time. But UPS definitely takes the time to highlight their employees. And this is not a dedicated Facebook page. This is just the regular UPS brand page where they highlight these things. You can also leverage Facebook's robust database for job listings. You can really nail down to a lot of different specific interests and demographics and things like that. You can't necessarily drill down on skill set like you may be able to do with something like LinkedIn, but that doesn't mean that Facebook advertising isn't going to be as successful for you, especially because from the HR perspective, job advertisements, job postings on LinkedIn are so expensive. I remember working for a client that was a recruiter and she wanted to run some LinkedIn ads, and holy smokes, it was like 5 or 6 times the cost of Facebook advertisements. And, that, could very well change. We all know that advertisements are based on the bidding structure, but my goodness, I couldn't believe how much money people were paying for LinkedIn advertisements. And there was no guarantee that you were going to find the right candidate. So it can be really cost effective. And most people are on Facebook. And so it's not like with LinkedIn where, maybe the best candidate isn't on LinkedIn. There's a pretty good chance that the best candidate might be on Facebook. You can create a dedicated Facebook page as well. So Marriott Hotels does this. They have a Marriott Careers Facebook page, so it's dedicated specifically to their careers. They highlight their employees, which I think is really great. They highlight company culture. So, a lot of the hotels will offer yoga classes for their employees, which I think is really awesome. And then they also post jobs. So this was an ad for their bartending job. I think that they probably could have done a bit better by posting a link to the job postings instead of having you go to a link that's on their profile and then have to search for bartenders. So there's a little bit of background noise there that could be fixed up. But I think overall they do a pretty good job of highlighting not only these are the employees and we totally like them. We love our employees and these are the cool things they're doing. This is how great it is to work for us. And hey, this could be you. They also highlight a lot of different photos from their staff that are working all over the world. So Marriott is an international company. They've got hotels all over the world. And so they've got employees that, work in outdoor bars in the Caribbean. So, snapping views from the office, showing this really beautiful paradise. That's pretty cool, especially if you're the type of person who likes to travel and see new places. Maybe the Marriott is a place for you to work so that you can, have your office look out onto the ocean. So they definitely do a good job of highlighting why it's awesome to work for Marriott. Okay, so you can also use Facebook to check your prospective clients. There's a new company called, I believe it's called Social Intelligence or Intelligence Social, and they are based in the States, and their whole messaging is basically we are the background checks for social media. So, a lot of employers will do a background check, a police background check. Some will even do a credit check, which, that's for a different class. That's not for us talking about on Facebook. So, you have all these background checks. And now this Social Intelligence is saying they are the social background checker. So I think that there is definitely going to be a trend. There already is a trend of HR departments looking into people's social media, like what is their public profile saying about them. People are definitely being Googled every day while they're applying for jobs. But I think that we're going to see more and more that companies are going to be looking to get even more access to people's Facebook accounts and Twitter accounts and Instagram accounts, even if they're private. So, things that people are going to be thinking about, what do these people's public profiles look like? Is this something we want to be associated with our company and our brand? Has anybody ever spoken negatively about the company? I can tell you from my personal newsfeed, I had a friend who was working for a government agency, and this friend had posted something negative about the city. So he worked for the municipality, and something within the municipality, he felt that there was some wrong in terms of a service that was or was not provided to him at that time. And he posted about it on Facebook and was not very kind with his words. And it was public, and I don't think he realized that it was public, and somebody from that municipality found out, and he was suspended without pay for several weeks. So we're seeing that HR departments are definitely checking in on what people are saying before they get the job, and also while they're working, the things that you say publicly can, impact your job. And I think it's fair if you're posting things publicly, if it's not behind a privacy wall, you're going to be held accountable for what you say. And I think that that's fair, because if you were to be out at an event, some networking event, and speaking really horribly about a company, you are going to be held accountable for that. It's no different online, except that I think people are a little bit overly truthful online, or they feel that they can be a little bit more aggressive online because for some reason our psyches allow us to feel a little bit fearless when we're behind a keyboard. So the one thing I will say about checking your prospective candidates online is that you should tread carefully. Depending on where you are, there are labor laws and recruitment rules, and rules about, what you can and can't ask people for. Can you ask somebody for their Facebook password so that you can log in and see everything that they've posted? As a candidate, I would never hand over any passwords to anything. So, that's as up to the individual as it is up to the company. But definitely, if you're using any type of social media for recruitment purposes, you need to know the recruitment rules in your jurisdiction. So that's it for Facebook marketing at George Brown College. I hope that you guys enjoyed the course. I had a lot of fun teaching it. I've really enjoyed the discussions that we've had in our group, and I've enjoyed reading your assignments and learning more a little bit about what you guys do. So thank you very much for a really awesome semester. If you'd like to stay in the Facebook group, you are more than welcome. We do have alumni in the group, and as things change with Facebook and Facebook advertising and Instagram, we'll definitely be talking about those things in the group. So it is a good place for some resources. If you'd like to stay in touch outside of Facebook, you can feel free to send me emails at aligbc@gmail.com. I monitor that email quite frequently, and if I'm not monitoring it, there will be an autoresponder on it where you can find other ways to get in touch with me. So thanks again for a really awesome course. And that's it. That's everything. We're all done. Have a good one, everybody.